I never imagined that my simple act would lead to a 50M deal and a heartwarming, life-changing revelation. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the city. But inside me, darkness was creeping in. I was standing at the crossroads of my life, hands trembling, heart racing. The weight of it all felt like a brick on my chest. I had just lost my job. The news hit me like a cold wave. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I walked through the empty office, the echoes of laughter and chatter lingering like ghosts. My colleagues, my friends, they would never understand the turmoil stirring within me. I could feel their eyes, a mix of pity and curiosity, as I forced a smile and waved goodbye. I had dreams, big dreams. Maybe that's why it hurt more. I wanted to open my own café, a little haven where people could escape. I could picture it clearly, the aroma of fresh coffee, laughter swirling in the air, warm pastries lining the shelves. But now, those dreams seemed like distant stars, lost in a sea of despair. That night, alone in my dark apartment, I clutched my phone tightly. I scrolled through endless social media posts of people thriving, of opportunities slipping right past me. My heart sank deeper with every swipe. I knew I couldn't just sit back and let life happen to me. I had to act. I grabbed my notebook, the one I used to jot down ideas, and began scribbling furiously. My thoughts blurred into a wild dance. What could I do? As I penned down my struggles, an unseen force nudged at me. Something felt electric. I wrote about the cafe, the community it could build, the dreams waiting to be ignited. Each word felt like a heartbeat, pulsing with purpose. Hours turned into a blur. The shadows in my apartment lengthened as the moon rose high, blanketing everything in a soft glow. That's when it happened. I hesitated, heart racing, fingers shaking as I pressed send on an email to an old friend, a successful entrepreneur. Could he help me? Did I have the courage to ask for guidance? The moment I hit send, a shiver of fear ran through me. What if he ignored me? What if my dreams crumbled again under the weight of rejection? Silence enveloped me. It was deafening, but somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope ignited. Days passed. My world seemed to stand still. I checked my email obsessively. Nothing. I went through my daily routine, feeding my stubborn hope. I shared my dreams with anyone who'd listen, and every time I spoke, I felt a spark of life course through me, feeding my determination. But still, I was anxious, worried. Then came the fateful Friday morning. I was nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee when my phone buzzed. A new email. My heart lurched. I opened it, breath caught in my throat. My friend responded. I was not prepared for what I found. He wanted to meet. He had an idea that could change everything. What could it mean? My mind raced with possibilities. Was this the beginning or the end? And in that heartbeat, I realized I was standing on the edge of something incredible, or perhaps just another devastating fall. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The day arrived when I was to meet my old friend, a moment I'd been both eagerly anticipating and dreading. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my collar, rehearsing my words. The cafe dreams swirled around in my mind like unsettled dust, each thought both fragile and fierce with potential. What could he really offer me? Was this the thing that would rebuild my hope, or would it be yet another face in the crowd that dismissed my dreams? The sun hovered low in the sky, reflecting the golden waltz of anticipation through my veins. I arrived at the bustling café, a place I had once frequented with laughter and warmth, now tainted with the sting of my recent loss. I spotted him at the corner table, a familiar figure cloaked in success, a man who had navigated the stormy seas of entrepreneurship and come out victorious. glittering confidence etched in his every gesture. "Hey," he greeted warmly, and his smile, that genuine, lovely smile, softened the edges of my anxiety. As we settled into conversation, every passing minute felt like a rehearsal for an audition. Every word I spoke filled with both hope and trepidation. He asked about my dreams, my visions of the cafe, and as I shared my passion for community, my heart began to flutter with a sense of revival. "So, here's what I've been thinking," he said, glancing around as if ensuring no prying ears lingered. "I got a deal that could set you on the path to realizing your cafe dreams. A potential partnership." The world around me faded, and all I could hear was the pulse of my heart, racing, screaming for me to hold on to this moment. Could it be true? A partnership for my cafe idea? Thoughts of freshly brewed coffee and community laughter filled my head, a blend of excitement lacing my veins. But just then, as if waiting for the opportune moment to crack my facade of hope, reality struck. My phone buzzed fiercely in my pocket, a reminder of the world I was trying to leave behind. It was a message from my landlord asking for overdue rent. The constant reminder of my financial struggles cut deep. My dream of the cafe felt more like a fantasy, fragile and fleeting, that I met my friend's gaze with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "I'm not sure I can," I stammered, my voice barely a whisper amidst the din of chatter surrounding us. "I don't know if I'm ready. What if I fail?" He leaned forward, intensity igniting his gaze. "Failure is part of growth. You're not alone in this. Think about the lives you could change with your cafe. Your dreams matter. They're worth fighting for." His conviction wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket, but doubt lingered at the fringes of my mind, whispering its poisonous truths. What if this was just another dream carved from the air, easily shattered? What if I dared step forward only to tumble down yet again? We talked for hours, planning and brainstorming. I was deeply grateful for his encouragement, but the weight of uncertainty hovered over me like a storm cloud. As we finished our drinks, he extended a hand. "Let's do this together." The warmth in his embrace felt oddly comforting, like a lifeline in a tumultuous sea. I was filled with a sense of purpose, but then reality struck anew. My heart was caught in a war between fear and the glimmer of hope. "I have to think about it," I said finally, surprising even myself with the words that I walked out into the evening air. An unexpected surprise awaited me. A familiar face stood just outside the coffee of former co-worker, Jenna. Her eyes lit up when she saw me. "There you are. I was hoping to run into you. Can we grab a coffee?" In that innocent, spontaneous moment, sharing laughter and memories, I could feel my spirit lifting. Jenna was one of the few who truly understood the rhythm of my dreams and struggles. As we caught up, she shared stories of her own journey, her determination bubbling to the surface like a freshly opened bottle of champagne. "Why don't we create something together?" she suggested brightly. "You've got that amazing vision for your cafe, and I've been wanting to get into event planning. Imagine combining our strengths." A flicker of excitement surged again, igniting hope where doubt had previously settled. But then her next words knocked the wind from me. "I need to tell you something, though. I've been struggling too," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "Money's tight, and I got this notice as Jenna's words tumbled out the weight of struggles, debts, and the constant worry of warmth of our moment turned icy. My heart sank at the thought of her struggles mirroring my own. In that instant, I realized the harsh truth. We all carry different burdens, but they can feel so universally heavy. We parted that evening under a veil of uncertainty, her kindness leaving a tender imprint on my heart. I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, underneath the surface of our individual struggles, was a shared connection of resilience that could spark something amazing. Yet, as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, a new layer of fear drenched in doubt unfurled within me. What if the partnership wasn't just a matter of business? What if I had to decide between chasing my dreams or supporting a friend? With each tick of the clock, I found myself caught in a web of possibilities. I felt as though I were standing at the edge of a cliff. One step closer could either elevate me or send me plummeting into the unknown. And just when I thought I could find my footing amidst the uncertainty, an unexpected email landed in my inbox, the sender's name sending a chill of dread me former boss. Let's talk. My heart dropped. What could he possibly want? I wasn't ready to face that world again, and yet, here it was, an uncomfortable reminder that the past doesn't always stay where it belongs. In that moment, as my heart raced and my mind swirled with what could lie ahead, I felt the harsh truth wash over me. The road to my dreams would be riddled with unexpected challenges, and a decision loomed large on the horizon. Would I embrace the uncertainty or retreat into the safety of what I once knew? The days stretched on, each one wrapped in a shroud of unease as I grappled with what my former boss might want. The email lingered in my mind, taunting me like a dark cloud on the verge of raindrops. The once flickering flame of hope in my heart began to dim in the wake of resurfacing memories, late nights filled with anxiety, a relentless cycle of expectations, and a nagging sense of failure. Yet through it all, I couldn't help but replay the image of Jenna's determined smile and my friend's unwavering belief in my potential. Determined not to succumb to fear, I took a deep breath and clicked open the email. My heart quickened as I read the words. We need to discuss your recent departure and your plans moving forward. A pit formed in my stomach. This was not an invitation to revisit fond memories. A part of me wanted to ignore it, to silence the voice that urged me to confront the past. But another part yearned for clarity, a chance to reclaim what had been lost. I found myself drafting a reply, hesitating at first before finally agreeing to meet. As the appointed day arrived, I wrestled with the fluidity of my emotions. I arrived at the old office building, its sterile facade a stark reminder of everything I had left behind. I could feel the weight of judgment even before stepping inside. The air was thick with tension, the familiar sound of keyboards tapping in unison echoing around me. Thank you for coming, my former boss greeted me, a hint of warmth in his tone, though the smile didn't quite reach his eyes. I've been eager to catch up, to discuss the future. I believe you still have a lot to offer. His words felt like a thin veneer of honey draped over an underlying bitterness. Every word he spoke was laced with expectations, the relentless pressure that once smothered my creativity. I listened as he laid out plans for a new branch of his business, suggesting I help steer it from the sidelines. Though the idea glimmered like a tempting bait, I felt an instinctual recoil clawing at the edges of my resolve. Could I plunge back into that familiar sea of corporate whirlwind? Thank you for thinking of me, but I paused, gathering my courage. I'm focusing on something different now. I want to follow my passion, create a café that builds community. He stared at me, his brow furrowing, and in that unsettling moment, I felt a pang of regret mingled with resolve. Would I be making a terrible mistake by turning my back? Could I truly navigate a new path fraught with uncertainty? Passion is a luxury, you know, he responded, though his voice softened. But if you need a safety net, I may be able to help. I could connect you with investors. You'd have a shot at making that dream a reality. I felt trapped, teetering between two worlds, one that represented comfort and the other, flickering embers of hope. But just as I was about to respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me from the moment. I peered at the screen and froze. It was Jenna, her name shining brightly on the screen. I need to go, I said suddenly, the decision escaping like breath leaving my lungs. I rushed out of the meeting, leaving my boss voice trailing behind me. A mixture of disappointment and confusion. I made my way back to the cafe. The words I had wished to hear echoed in my mind. You're not alone in this. It became apparent that I was not only battling my fears, but grappling with the shadows of my past and the weight of others' expectations. Arriving at the cafe brought a surge of comfort, the clatter of cups and soft hum of conversation grounding me in the present. But just as I entered, I saw him, my friend, sitting at the same corner table where we'd shared laughter and plans. Glad you're here, he greeted with a welcoming smile. I've been thinking more about our partnership. We could really start small, just pop-ups or events. It's a perfect way to gauge interest without committing entirely. As my heart warmed at his enthusiasm, I felt the shadows of doubt hovering just out of reach. What if it doesn't work? What if we pour our hearts into it and it fails? My voice was thick, the fears spilling out like a floodgate opened. Then, well learned, he replied earnestly, "You'll never know unless you try. Your vision deserves to breathe, to flourish." We discussed possibilities and schematics, my heart rhythm returning to a steadier beat. In that moment of camaraderie, it felt as though a small spark ignited, unraveling the web of despair I had been weaving for so long. But then, a flicker of uncertainty punctured the bubble of optimism. How could I commit to this when I was already reeling from my past struggles? In the haze of the conversation, the cafe door swung open, and in walked a figure that sent a shock of recognition coursing through me. My former boss. The world felt as if it had abruptly tilted on its axis. He walked towards our table, his eyes shifting between my friend and me. "I didn't expect to find you here. Just thought I'd check on old projects." His voice was smooth, but carried an undercurrent of tension, like a restrained storm waiting to unleash. "Perfect timing," my friend responded with a forced smile. "We were just discussing our plans for a cafe." The atmosphere crackled with electric discomfort. I felt the weight of unspoken words and potential judgments, and amidst the backdrop of my former boss' authoritative presence, I again stood at the edge of ambiguity. As they exchanged fleeting glances, an unwanted sense of panic began to unfurl within me. In that charged moment, I understood that my decision would not only affect my aspirations for the cafe, but could also draw the battle lines for my past, present, and future. How could I navigate this intersection of dreams and reality, with every choice presenting its own alluring yet treacherous path? And just as the tension reached its peak, my phone buzzed ominously yet again, this time delivering another surprise notification, one that had the power to shake the fragile foundation I was attempting to build. I held my breath, staring at the different paths laid out before me. The promise of hope versus the shadows of uncertainty. A crossroads I never expected, and my response hung in the balance, ready to tip me into the unknown. Velation. The phone screen flashed, and my mind raced as I read the message that had arrived. I didn't recognize the number, but the content made my heart skip a beat. "We found your proposal intriguing. Can we schedule a meeting to discuss further?" It was a response from a venture capital firm I had approached last week, one I had shared my dreams with during a spontaneous burst of courage. The mixture of excitement and anxiety surged within me. This could be a ticket to finally manifesting my vision for the cafe. Yet, it felt as though the world around me began to narrow when I glanced up and saw my former boss's expression harden. The confidence I had felt just moments ago began to drain, replaced by a tidal wave of uncertainty. Could I truly step into this new place, or would I find comfort only in the familiar comfort that might suffocate my dreams? "Who's that?" my friend asked, noticing my stillness, concern etched on his face. It's from a venture capital firm. They're interested in discussing a proposal I submitted." The words spilled out before I could compose myself, each syllable weighted with responsibility, and my former boss' interest piqued immediately. "A proposal? What kind?" His voice, smoother than it had been in our earlier meeting, was now tinted with curiosity and something else. Was it jealousy? The storm behind his cool facade was beginning to swirl. "It's just a concept for a community cafe," I replied, keeping my tone steady. "Something vibrant, where everyone feels welcome." I wanted to keep it light, but suddenly I felt the gravity of the moment pressing down on me. "Sounds kind of risky," he countered lightly, a challenging glimmer in his eyes. "Maybe I could help. An investment from me could provide the stability you might need. Why put all your hopes on a single meeting, when you know my resources could open more doors?" Caught in the crossfire of ambition and insecurity, I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. I looked at my friend for support, his expression a fortress of encouragement. "She doesn't need to rely on anyone else. She has this." "You can't by passion," he interjected fiercely, the warmth of his loyalty bolstering my own flagging spirits. I could see that moment. I understood something pivotal. This was not just about me. My choices carried the weight of dreams, not only for myself, but for those who believed in me. It's about more than resources, though. I found my voice, reveling in the clarity that surged through me. It's about creating a space for people, a place where they can feel heard and connected. That doesn't come from financial backing alone. Why boss expression soured. You're romanticizing it. In business, you have to be rooted in reality. A cafe is a fragile dream without the right support. His words stung, yet deep down, they fueled a fierce determination. I appreciate your concern, but I believe in this vision. I'm willing to put in the work and take the risks that come with it. The silence that ensued enveloped the room, punctuated only by the chatter of patrons around us. I could sense shifts in the air, a tension that weighed down on everyone's shoulders. Then I wish you well, he said, his voice devoid of warmth, though I suspect it might end in regret. And with that, he turned, leaving me and my friend in a suffocating silence. We watched him leave, my heart heavy yet strangely uplifted. You got this, my friend said gently, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. This is your moment. But just as the flicker of bravery ignited within my heart, fear called out from the shadows. What if I truly stumbled? What if this unexpected meeting turned out to be yet another disillusionment? I glanced back down at my phone, the message still aglow. A new horizon was within reach, yet the weight of the past loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Am I fearless enough to walk that fine line? Do you want to respond now? My friend inquired, sensing my hesitance. Yeah, I think I should just then. My phone buzzed again, slicing through the moment. A new wave of apprehension rolled through me as I opened the notification. This time, it was a photo attached, was an image of my proposal shared on social media. Beneath it, a comment caught my eye that sent my heart racing. This is exactly what our community needs. Let's make it happen. Lila Marks. I knew who Lila was. An influential figure in local entrepreneurship. Her words commanded attention and respect. Her endorsement had the potential to turn my dreams into a reality, but it also signified public scrutiny. I felt breathless, teetering on the precipice of my aspirations and fears. Could I handle the expectations that would surely follow? And as I scrolled further among the comments, the tremors of anticipation began to twist in my stomach, a mixture of hope and dread. The walls around me seemed to close in as I grappled with this new revelation, a choice whose implications might affect not just my future, but the futures of everyone I cared about. Should I respond to Lila? I whispered, grappling with yet another decision that felt momentous in nature. But as my friend leaned in closer, something shifted in the atmosphere, a deeper sense of urgency brewing. Clicking, scraping sounds echoed in the cafe, and suddenly the door swung open again. A well-dressed woman strode in, her face a mask of determination. The breath caught in my throat as I recognized her from the local business council. She had connections that could take my venture to heights I had only dreamed of. "Excuse me," she said, locking her gaze on me. "Are you the one who submitted the cafe proposal? I've been hearing wonderful things about your vision." My heart raced, the weight of opportunity and uncertainty colliding in a tumultuous embrace. My future was unfolding beyond anything I could have imagined, and yet tangled in the exhilarating rush was an echo. What if I wasn't ready after all? As the edges of the potential moment blurred, I chose to open my mouth, ready to respond, but would my next words build the foundation of a dream or shake the very ground beneath my feet? The woman's presence sent ripples through the cafe. Her sharp eyes seemed to pierce right through my uncertainty, leaving me exposed. "Mia Thompson," she introduced herself, extending a hand towards me. The warmth of her palm assured me that she meant no harm, but I was still grappling with the weight of her arrival. Yes, that's me," I stammered. "I submitted the proposal last week." "Wonderful." MIA's enthusiasm contrasted with the apprehension swirling within me. "I'd love to discuss your vision further. If you're available, We could meet soon this week, perhaps? Of course. I'd love to, but the words fluttered away like leaves in the autumn wind as doubt washed over me. Was I genuinely ready for a conversation that could catapult my dreams into reality? Can I just ask? She continued, her tone shifting to something softer, more genuine. What inspired you to create this cafe? We're always on the lookout for projects that make a difference in the community. That was the question that made my heart crescendo with purpose. I envisioned a space where people could connect, where differences could dissolve over a cup of coffee. A cozy haven filled with laughter and stories. I paused, the daylight illuminating memories of my own childhood, where shared meals around the table have been a sanctuary from the harsh world outside. I love that vision, Mia replied, her smile genuine. Connections are vital, especially in today's society. The world needs more places like what you're proposing. As her words enveloped me in protective warmth, I felt the shards of fear begin to soften, just slightly. I allowed myself to breathe for a moment, to savor the possibility laid out before me. But she continued, and I braced myself. I want to be honest with you. The stakes are high, and taking on such an endeavor requires more than just a great idea. Are you prepared for the challenges ahead? The backlash? The criticisms that might come when you put your heart on the line? Her questions were fair, but they cast a shadow over my burgeoning hope. I glanced back at my friend, who stood a little bit more proud, now a pillar of support I so desperately relied on. He gave me an encouraging nod, a small flame of perseverance flickering brightly in the depths of my heart. I understand what you're saying, I managed to reply, my voice steadying. But if I don't try, they'll always wonder, and that regret would be worse than any temporary setback. I want this cafe to reflect our unique community, even if it's not a smooth path. MIA's eyes glimmered with intrigue as she absorbed my words. Okay, I respect that. Passion is what I look for in every project I support, she said, her tone pragmatic yet deepening the intimate space between us. Let's set a time to meet this week. I want to understand your concept more and see how my firm can assist without compromising your vision. Thank you. The joy bursting forth from me spilled into my words, fueling what felt like an impossible liftoff. They'll do whatever it takes. Well, keep in mind that there will be a lot to discuss, especially in terms of funding. We'll need a solid business plan and a clear strategy in place, she reminded softly but firmly. This is a serious commitment, right? I nodded, swallowing hard as the realities of her words sunk in. They'll get started on that right away. As she walked away with a confident air, I felt weightless floating between the realms of excitement and anxiety. When my friend turned to me, his eyes sparkled with a combination of pride and exhilaration. Did you just see that? You've got a legitimate contender in your corner now. Yeah, I breathed, still grappling with the gravity of the situation. But do I even know how to do this? Create a business plan? Secure funding? A wave of panic washed over me. Hey, my friend said, placing an assuring hand on my shoulder. You're not alone in this. We could do research together. It'll help you every step of the way. This is your dream, and I know you're going to make it happen. His support breathed life into my fluttering confidence. Yet as the wave of hope crashed against my fears, another notification pinged on my phone. The familiar anxiety returned as I forged the courage to look down this time. It was a video shared by someone I didn't know, circulating quickly through social media, that I clicked the play button, and the screen filled with haunting words. Beware of false prophets. Promises that sound too good to be true are just that empty. The unsettling tone was coupled with images of failed businesses, murmurs of doubt, and critics disparaging hopeful entrepreneurs daring to saturate an already faltering market. My heart sank as the realization washed over Meth Cafe I envisioned wouldn't just be about ambition. It would also attract scrutiny, potential failure, and fear of backlash. Don't pay attention to that, my friend urged, noticing my unease. You're charting your path. Let them say what they want. You focus on your dream. But as I scrolled through the comments that followed the video, the conflicting feelings clashed violently within me. You're being foolish, one comment read. There's no market for this, just suburban delusions. Another echoed, "Quit while you're ahead. Better to keep your day job than risk losing all." The storm of their judgments howled louder than any words of encouragement. My hands trembled as I held tightly to my phone. "Maybe there is some truth in what they're saying," I whispered, plagued by doubt. Before my friend could respond, the cafe door swung open again, and in an instant the atmosphere shifted. A commotion erupted as people behind me gasped. I turned to see an elderly man shaking his walking stick in the air, and it felt like the ground beneath me shifted in a disconcerting way. "Enough of your lies," he shouted vehemently. "This is why our community is dying a lack of real substance in these so-called visions." I blinked, suddenly feeling the weight of all staring at me, with the echoes of the video still reverberating in my mind. Did the community perceive me as another false hope? As the chill of uncertainty swept over me, I couldn't help but wonder, was I forging a path of dreams, or was I digging my own grave? Would I be bravely standing tall, or would I become just another casualty of ambition gone wrong? The cafe felt like it had shrunk around me, the air thickening with the weight of the old man's outburst. I glanced over at my friend, who was visibly shaken but valiantly attempting to stand between me and the growing tension in the room. My heart raced, caught between despair and a desperate need to defend my vision. "Sir," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I assure you, my intention is to create a welcoming space for everyone. I want to listen to what our community needs." I took a deep breath, drawing courage from the flicker of warmth that had once felt so firm. This cafe doesn't just represent me. It represents all of us. "Promises don't feed the hungry," he snapped, the grip on his walking stick tightening. "I've seen too many dreamers come and go, leaving behind nothing but broken dreams and empty promises." I could feel the weight of the scrutiny pressing down. The innermost fears I'd kept hidden from others shimmered before them, on the brink of coming to life. It was one thing to ponder failure in the privacy of my thoughts, but now I was facing harsh judgment, raw and unfiltered. My fingers twitched with uncertainty as I scanned the room, looking for kindred spirits. Were there any faces here that believed in me? A woman sitting in the corner caught my eye. She lifted her head slightly, her expression unreadable but somehow serene. As her gaze met mine, she gave a gentle smile, as if urging me onward. "Mister, I try to gather the fragments of my courage. I can truly understand your concerns. Everyone feels the fear of change. But we're not just building a business. We're fostering connections, community. We're building hope." The old man's face tightened, but there was a slight falter in his demeanor, as if the roots of his anger were beginning to unravel. Maybe he wasn't as firm in his beliefs as he wanted to be. To create something meaningful is no small feat. Just look at the stories shared in this very cafe. It has the potential to be a haven, to bring light where it's been dimmed. My voice broke slightly. "I'm asking for your support, not your judgment." A tense silence fell over the crowd, punctuated only by the faint chimes of the bell above the door as more patrons entered. My chest tightened. This wasn't just about my felt like a collective heartbeat I was trying to capture. "You're a fool if you think you can change the world," the old man scoffed, but I detected a hint of hesitation within his harsh words. "Look around, people are struggling. The last thing we need is another frivolous idea." A soft murmur of agreement followed, but then a voice rose faintly from the back, offering a counterpoint. "Maybe it's worth a shot. All we have is possibilities." The last cafe brought joy to my family. A young man called, his expression earnest. "It can't hurt to try." His words echoed like life's siren song, drawing the attention of others. I felt a glimmer of hope, one fragile whisper of encouragement amidst the sea of doubt. Several heads turned hesitantly towards me, and with that, a shift in energy rippled through the crowd. And then I saw the elderly woman again, who now quietly placed her hand on the old man's arm. "Sometimes kindness can be worth more than gold, dear. You don't know what your heart can do until it's given a chance." Her voice was gentle, yet firm like a beacon cutting through the fog of negativity. His grip on the stick loosened momentarily, revealing a man underneath the bitterness. A person who perhaps had once dreamt big, but had seen his hopes trampled beneath the weight of reality. "Fine," he muttered, exhaling heavily as if the air had become too rich with vulnerability. "I just don't want to watch another dreamer fail on our streets. That I understand, and I truly appreciate your concern," I replied, feeling stronger with each moment. "But together, we can make sure that doesn't happen. With this cafe, I believe we can lift each other up." The atmosphere felt electric with unresolved tension. I could see eyes softening, a hint of uncertainty giving way to curiosity. More voices chimed in now, discussing the hopes. I had poured so fervently into this endeavor, like a tapestry being stitched stitch by stitch. "You need to have good coffee," someone joked lightly, breaking the lingering heaviness. Laughter touched the room, its sound spilling protectively around us. But just as I began to feel a sense of camaraderie building, my phone buzzed again, a jarring reminder that this moment could be fleeting. I brought it up cautiously, doom creeping in silently. A fresh notification flashed. "Your application proposal was received, but there are concerns." My heart lurched. I swiped it open, numbness creeping up the edges of my consciousness as the message unfolded. It detailed reservations, pointing specifically toward the instability of the cafe market and representatives warning that my vision must align perfectly with their strategy to ensure survival. "Everything depends on this," I murmured, trapped between rising hope and the cold reality threatening to swallow me whole. "Don't let that get to you," my friend urged, stepping closer, but my heart sank. Doubts swirled in tandem with the encouraging voices around me, dragging me toward uncertainty. The elderly man appeared softer, almost apologetic as he turned to leave, but he paused at the door to say, "If you're serious about this, I might come by and give it a shot." His protruding figure lingered in the doorway for a heartbeat longer, almost like a guardian watching over me. Then he vanished into the bustling street. As the day wore on, I felt lighter, warmed by the possibility of what could come next. Yet that specter of fear tugged at my heart anew. I still had a mountain to climb, steep and unforgiving. How was I going to assure my future and not merely survive the present? "Let's go back to my place and work on that plan," my friend suggested, glancing at the spirit of opportunity gleaming in my eyes. His face shot a peak of adrenaline right through the cloud settling in my heart. With a decided nod, I pushed my fears aside. Together, I affirmed. Yet just as we turned to leave, a shout echoed from outside the cafe, reverberating like thunder rolling in. "Wait, we're not done." I hesitated, eyes wide, as the crowd stirred. A figure rushed back through the door, and to my disbelief, it was the elderly woman, her hands raised as if clenching a treasure. "I have an idea," she called, the fire in her voice radiating warmth through the gathering autumn chill. Hope intertwined with dread. What new twist lay ahead? Would this unexpected intervention restore or challenge my heart? The first glimpse of clarity or yet another storm? The cafe, so simply rooted in dreams, felt like it was on the cusp of something monumental. And as I took a step back inside, I couldn't help but feel the fragile threads of fate tightening around me, pulling me into the unknown. The bell above the cafe door chimed lightly as the elderly woman stepped back inside, a force in her own right, radiating an energy that shifted the air. Her silver hair glowed in the warm light, and there was a spark in her eyes that told me she had something crucial to share. The crowd's murmurs settled, turning into a tight anticipation. "I've been watching this little community from my window for years," she began, her voice steady and bolstered by conviction. "And I can tell you, there's a hunger for connection, hiria, yearning in people's hearts for something they can call their own." The thoughtful silence wrapped around her words like a blanket, inviting sincerity into the space. "I used to run a small craft shop a few blocks from here," she continued, leaning slightly on her cane. "It wasn't just a shop. It was a refuge, a place where stories were shared, laughter echoed, and hope was woven into the very fabric of the day. But I lost it too. Times got tough, and I had to close my doors." "I'm sorry," I whispered, the sadness of her story resonating within the scars of my own ambitions. "No need for pity. It taught me something valuable," she replied, her eyes twinkling. "My point is that a cafe can be more than coffee and pastries. It can be a lifeline. You have the right spirit for it. Don't let fear hold you back." Then she hesitated, contemplating her next words. "What if we hosted community workshops here? Art classes, book clubs, storytelling nights. We could bring in locals to share their talents and stories. We could collaborate with local farmers for fresh produce, and maybe even create a pay-it-forward system for those who can't afford treats." Her ideas rippled through the crowd, a vibrant wave of intrigue that sparked conversation among us. "Imagine a space that grounds us, connects us," she exclaimed, and I saw the glimmer of excitement in faces that had only moments ago been strained with doubt. "But how?" I managed to ask, my heart swelling with hope, but still tethered by the practicalities ahead. "I don't have the resources or contacts. Resources can grow if you plant the seed," she replied, her smile broadening. "You have something many lack: passion and vision. And those are contagious." The warm laughter and enthusiastic conversations began to bubble back up, the pressing concern of the world outside temporarily forgotten. Each suggestion she presented unfurled like petals on a blossoming flower, hinting at the rich potential lying dormant in our community. I felt a thrill run through me, buoyed by her faith in possibility. But just as enthusiasm bubbled forth, I remained haunted by the harsh words of the city officials, like a shadow lurking in the corner of my mind. "We would need to convince Themi, yes. ID, need a solid proposal. Toto, offset the risks. Then let's work on it together," the elderly woman exclaimed, unabashedly mightier with every passing moment. "And I won't be alone. I'll ask others to aid us." The ones who felt the same pangs of loss and longing. The power behind her voice cast a shimmering spell over us. As she moved through the crowd, gathering support, I felt something shift within me. The weight of my insecurity began to lift. Perhaps it was the way she effortlessly embraced the connections formed within the community. Perhaps it was the raw unity in shared experience. For a fleeting moment, hope flickered like candlelight against the encroaching chaos. But just then, a young girl who had been silently observing me stepped forward, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. Her eyes were wide, glistening with determination. "Can I help too? I have an idea for a mural that could go on the cafe wall. Maybe people can come and paint together." Gasps of astonishment rang out from the crowd as she ignited yet another thread of inspiration. It was as if one person's bravery sparked courage in others. Encouraged, people began volleying ideas back and forth. In a fleeting instant, I saw possibilities unfurl: families getting together for breakfast, students gathering to study, laughter mingling with the scent of brewing coffee. Together, we could create something that would nurture and uplift not just a business, but a home. But even as I felt the tide rising, my phone buzzed again, a grim reminder of reality. I hesitated to look, dread pooling in my stomach. I finally swiped the screen, and there it was, another update on my proposal. This one was worse. Must align with strategic marketing initiatives to ensure funding viability. Need immediate response for community investment. Rounds. My breath caught, the world feeling too heavy on my shoulders. The office wouldn't understand this spark we were igniting here. The community was rife with promise, yet riddled with systemic doubt. Just as I leaned back, feeling paralyzed between what I longed for and what I feared was slipping through my fingers, I heard a brittle whisper behind me. "What's wrong?" It was my friend, noticing the ashen look in my expression. "Are you sure you want this?" His voice quivered slightly, concern etching his features. "Because if you are, maybe it's worth going ahead without funding. It starts with belief, and today, you've inspired belief in others." I felt the duality of his words, illuminating the possibility that my heart and their expectations could coexist, yet doubt still gnawed at my resolve. As I looked around, the faces filled with enthusiasm and promises to collaborate weighed against that unnerving notification. Did I still have what it took to push through, to lean into the hope this day had suddenly given me? At that moment, the elderly woman stood before the crowd again, her own sense of purpose encompassing us all. We can do this together. Each word resonated like a battle-crying invocation to our shared history, our hopes, and a future that still held potential. But just as her inspiring words began to fill the room with renewed fervor, another commotion outside shattered the moment. Voices rose in alarm, and as the crowd turned towards the door, I caught a glimpse of a gathering looming. The city representatives were here, punctuated by the luminous flash of their badges, and my heart sank into the pit of my stomach as I stared into the morass of chaos ahead. They didn't come to celebrate. They came to check on the mess I had dared to dream. Everything was hanging in the balance. Would they crush this flicker of hope before it could ignite into flame? And in that instant, I felt the weight of my choices twist around my heart, pulling me towards an inevitable showdown. I had to face not only my fears, but the raw reality of what lay ahead. The costs of my dreams were finally here to collect. The atmosphere shifted, an undeniable tension brewing as the city representatives stepped into the café, their presence both intimidating and impossible to ignore. They looked out of place amid the warm hues and gentle excitement, each badge glinting under the cafe lights like a challenge thrown into the sea of hope we had created. The thrill in the air faded slightly, replaced by an uneasy anticipation, like the calm before a storm. But I took a deep breath, glancing around at the faces in the crowd. The elderly woman, ever the stalwart force, stood tall near the front, her eyes fierce and unwavering. People shifted nervously, whispers passing through the air like wildfire. The little girl with the crumpled paper looked up at me expectantly, her innocent hope reflected in her wide eyes. I felt the knot in my stomach tighten further. Failure to rise to this moment could dampen the budding spirit we had only just begun to foster. One of the representatives, a poised woman with an air of indifference, scanned the room before her icy gaze landed squarely on me. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone clipped at "I hope so," I replied, struggling to find my voice amid the noise of my racing heart. "We were just discussing some community initiatives." Her interruption cut through the enveloping warmth like a knife. "You must be aware that any endeavor like this necessitates formal approval," and the elderly woman stepped forward, unflinching. "We were just discussing how important it is to foster community connections. We are hoping to create something beautiful here that brings people together in meaningful ways." The representative arched an eyebrow, unimpressed. "And you believe that can override the regulations your cafe must adhere to? Your concept is admirable, but theory doesn't hold water without a solid foundation. We have protocols for a reason." A palpable silence engulfed us, hanging heavy with disappointment. The air felt charged with unspoken fears, the weight of countless dreams resting uneasily on my shoulders. Could we really do this? As the representative droned on with bureaucratic jargon, I sought refuge in the faces of those around me. Everyone listened intently, some nodded in agreement, but I could sense the tremors of doubt creeping in. Just as the atmosphere threatened to fracture, another voice broke through. The young girl, emboldened and undeterred, raised her small hand. "But what if we showed you? What if we painted the mural together? It could be our first community project, proof of our vision." Her enthusiasm reverberated off the walls as I witnessed creativity take form amidst uncertainty. The representative's gaze softened just a fraction, but skepticism lingered. "A mural? Lovely idea. But how does a mural suffice to ensure compliance with city standards? We can use it to transform dull walls into pieces of shared history." The little girl persisted, her determination reminiscent of the elderly woman's. "Everyone in the community can join. People like to be part of something." An unexpected wave of courage surged within me then. Stepping toward the representatives, I found my voice amidst conflicting thoughts, desperation propelling me forward. "What if we showed you our plans? We can create a compelling proposal that integrates art and other community activities as an integral component of our cafe. We'll work hard to align our vision with the city's objectives. We just need a chance." The crowd began murmuring again, murmurs that grew louder into a chorus of support. Heads nodded, and my heart began to swim in a sea of shared conviction. A few voices shouted out ideas, proposals for art programs, pottery classes, and collaborative events, each fueled by the hope that our cafe could stand for something more than just a place to drink coffee. You see, the elderly woman's voice echoed with strength. People are ready to pour their hearts into this community. Together, we can build a foundation. Yet, the representative remained unmoved, her expression inscrutable. They'll tell you it takes more than passion to launch a project like this. It requires proof of community support and feasibility analysis. What you propose must ensure viability. As the representative spoke, a flicker of defiance ignited inside me. And we can offer that. I countered fervently. We just need a little time and opportunity to showcase our intent. The room seemed to pulse with energy. The spirit of community burgeoned, demanding a chance to thrive. But behind that flicker of hope, the weight of systemic barriers loomed on unavoidable truth that no amount of inspiration could immediately disperse. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, harsh and intrusive amidst the fervor. I grabbed it reflexively. The message filled my screen like an unwelcome reality check, stark and unyielding. Funding requires immediate endorsement. Proposals must align with fiscal objectives. The implications hung heavy like clouds fattening for a storm. "Sorry, everyone," I said, heart pounding in a race against time. I quickly whispered to the elderly woman, my voice low. "What if I can't produce this in time? What if we lose momentum?" I pointed helplessly at my phone, and her gaze softened, perhaps reflecting the depths of her own past struggles. "You focus on today," she urged, her grip on my shoulder firm. "You have ignited a fire here. Lean into that. We'll figure the details together." But as my anxiety swelled, a fresh voice broke through. My worry young girl chimed in again. "Then we can work all night until you're ready. Everyone can help. It's a team project." Her words struck a chord, resonating promise in every corner of the room where hope flickered. Maybe this dream wasn't just mine to carry. It belonged to all of us. At that moment, just as a collective resolve began to kindle within the crowd, the representative's phone vibrated loudly in her pocket, punctuating the air with an urgent tone. In an instant, her stern demeanor shifted under the scrutiny of the audience as she stepped away, frowning at her screen. The ebbing excitement seemed to swirl in newfound uncertainty, an omen of things on the verge of unraveling. A flash of concern raced through me, and my heart raced in tandem. What news was so urgent that it would distract her now? And just as she turned to face us again, my gut churned with premonition. "I need you all to remain here. There's been a development concerning the cafe, and its funding an external source may be complicating matters." "An external source?" I stared at her, confusion mingling with trepidation. The intensity of that day, the community gathering, the undeniable enthusiasm, it all threatened to slip into the hands of someone else. As the weight of that revelation settled in, the room buzzed with the question that loomed beneath our hopeful plans. What did that mean for us all? I had ignited something powerful here, but would it be extinguished before it fully bloomed? The anticipation of what lay ahead gnawed at me, the shadows hovering ever closer. Hope and fear intertwined in that moment, standing on the precipice of the unknown as we faced a new, disconcerting reality. The representative's words hung in the air like a specter over the burgeoning spirit of the cafe, a grim prelude to the uncertainty that threatened to uncoil everything we had fought so hard to build. In the stillness that followed, I could feel the tension in the room shift, a collective breath held as we awaited clarity amid the chaos. "What external source?" I asked, my voice crackling under the weight of anxiety. The representative looked at me, her expression inscrutable. "I can't divulge specifics at the moment. Just know there are procedures in place regarding funding that could impact your project. You may want to prepare yourselves for possible challenges." Whispers erupted again, a flurry of speculation dusting the air like flower petals caught in a sudden wind. I could see the cracks starting to form in the unity we had built. The elderly woman's eyes narrowed with concern, while the little girl's hopeful expression wavered. Is this about the mural? I pressed, desperate for reassurance, my mind racing through the possibilities. Will we have to forfeit our plans because someone else has their interests? Let's await further information before jumping to conclusions, the representative said, but her tone offered no comfort. Without knowing it, I took a step back, retreating into the shadows of uncertainty. The café was supposed to represent hope, a haven where dreams could take root. Yet, with every word from the representative, the foundation was being chipped away piece by piece. But before despair could fully tighten its grip, I noticed an unexpected warmth in the glances exchanged among the crowd. The little girl, feeling the tension rise, let out a giggle, her innocent laughter brushing constraints from the air. It rippled through the audience, drawing reluctant smiles from some. Maybe we can build a wall of art, if we unite to face whatever is coming. Her words were tentative yet magical, igniting sparks of determination in the hearts of those around her. The elderly woman joined in. That's right. We've weathered storms before. Community is stronger together. With each passing moment, the warmth began to seep back into the café, nudging the chill of doubt aside. I could feel the collective energy flowing. Ideas sprang forth, people rallying around the little girl's vision. We can create art that speaks to our unity, each brushstroke a testament to our resolve. Caught in the swell of emotions, I felt a flicker of hope ignite once again, but the politician's earlier words nagged at the back of my mind. How could we turn this tumult back into clarity? Suddenly, a voice broke in, sharp and piercing the representative. This is not a game, people. Art is wonderful, but without funding and approval, it will not materialize into anything tangible. Then let's show them. Someone shouted from the back, a wave of enthusiasm cascading through the crowd like the tide returning to shore. Let's gather as many signatures as it takes, support that can't be ignored. Inspiration surged, breathing color back into our dreams. I felt my heart race as a tangible plan took shape. Voices melded into symphonies of passion, mapping out strategies for gathering support flyers, community meetings, online petitions, anything to demonstrate the weight of our aspirations to the city. As murmuring renewed and a spirited fervor took hold, I stepped forward again, my resolve hardening. We'll turn the café into a canvas, not just for our mural, but for our voices. We'll create a mural depicting our shared history and vision. We need to stand united, not just as dreamers, but as doers. Some faces brightened with intent, the worry woven into our gathering fading into determination. In that powerful moment, we all clutched onto the thread of hope, spooling it tighter with every proclamation. Just then, in a rush of movement, the representative received another notification on her phone. I watched her face shift in real time, brows furrowing deeper. Without skipping a beat, she turned back to us, looking more disheveled than before, as if the realities she was grappling with were beginning to unravel her own conviction. The city council is meeting over funding this week. Without thorough community representation, you could face a significant setback. A ripple of unease crawled through the group, but it was the little girl who broke the spell, raising her tiny fist in declaration. Then we'll be there, every single one of us. We won't give up. The fervor returned, but beneath it, I could sense my heartbeat escalating anew. A meeting? A council? How could we pull this together so quickly? With a timeline so tight, would our voices even resonate among the chants of adults with years of authority behind them? In the midst of this emotional whirlpool, just as we stepped back into our plans, another message boomed ominously from the representative's phone. With each repeated buzz, my heart sank further. I have to excuse myself, she said hurriedly, frustration clawing at her tone. But I'll do what I can to ensure your voices are heard. Yes, she turned to leave. Urgency etched across her back. I called out, wait, can we count on you? She paused, glancing over her shoulder, and for a brief moment, shadows of doubt flickered across her face. Develop a proposal and gather support. Just be aware that outside influences can alter the direction of this community project. Her words lingered, haunting my steps as she exited the cafe, taking the last vestiges of certainty with her. My throat felt tight as my eyes scanned the crowd, who now looked back at me in uncertainty, helplessness creeping in, a haunting reflection of my OWN in that vulnerable instant. Everything fell hanging by a thread, the mounting pressure sending ripples through her hopeful plans. What external source threatened our dreams? Who or what could divert the course we had just begun to set? With a community of dreams assembled, yet shadows looming over us, I realized I needed to dig deeper, ignite something more than community. I had to uncover the truth that drifted just beyond reach, because the value of our dreams could never lie solely in art. It lay in our willingness to fight for each other, to shield our dreams from the impending storm. And as the chatter softened to a whisper, I felt an undercurrent of panic merge with resolve. What would we uncover as we ventured forward, determined but still grappling with the unknown? Would we be strong enough to face adversaries we couldn't yet see? The cafe felt like a sanctuary and a battleground, a space filled with possibility and transformation, but one that also stood at the brink of chaos. There, amid our cheers and intent, a pressing unease twinged at the corners of hope. With no time to lose, I turned back toward my community, my family of artists and dreamers gathered around me. Let's begin our journey, I urged, every heartbeat echoing the truth that tomorrow had yet to unfold. But in the back of my mind, one thought pounded louder than the rest. What was this external source that could loom over us so ominously? As the days turned into a blur of preparation, anticipation, and anxiety, our cafe dreams shifted from the realm of mere possibility to something tangible, charged with the vibrancy of community ambition. Every evening, we gathered at the café for me friends, those silent supporters, and every newcomer who dared to paint their journey next to mine. Bodies filled the space, laughter overlapping with the scent of fresh coffee, conversations bubbling over with ideas for the mural and the workshops to come. Each brushstroke we envisioned symbolized not just our hopes, but our unified spirit bunched tightly together like a single heartbeat racing into the unknown. But beneath the surface of excitement, shadows continued to loom. The countdown to the council meeting was like a clock ticking ominously in the background, amplifying my worry, and yet together, we fortified the walls of our anticipation with unwavering determination. On the day of a meeting, I felt as though the walls themselves might collapse under the weight of my anxiety. Would our voices resonate amidst those who held our fate in their hands? Were we truly ready to fight for our dreams, to stand firm against potential dismissal? As we entered the council hall, the atmosphere felt heavy and electric, tension palpable in the air. Rows of people sat like sentinels, some fidgeting while others gazed at us inscrutably, their expressions unreadable. My heart raced, the rhythm of uncertainty drumming in my ears. I took a deep breath, clutching the notes in my hand, my vision blurred by the anticipation that lay ahead. But standing beside me were the people who believed, friends, family, community members who had taken their dreams and woven them into a larger tapestry. The leader of the council took her seat, her presence commanding attention as the room quieted. The gathering felt monumental. As was our moment to outline our hopes, not just for coffee and pastries, but for connection, understanding, and community. I felt the warmth of a hand on my shoulder, me friend, standing vigilant beside me, anchoring my trembling resolve. A flicker of courage ignited at the edges of my mind. Together, we would share our aspirations, and we would be seen point one by one. Voices spoke before me, each tale infused with the colors of struggle, resilience, and dreams that had long been tucked away. And then I was called forth, me body flooded with heat as whispers fell silent. I stepped up to the podium, looking out into an expectant crowd. I stand here not as an individual, but as a representation of all of us. I began, my voice steadying as I connected with the faces watching me. This cafe isn't just about coffee. It symbolizes a haven for our community somewhere, where fatiguing walls can dissolve, where children can express their creativity, where laughter can meld with past struggles, inciting hope. The words escaped my lips. I saw the council members' expressions shift. There was curiosity ignited amid their temporary skepticism, a willingness to listen, if only for a moment. We understand that dreamers fade, I continued, emboldened by the resolve swelling within me. But dreams have power in the heart of our community. The heartbeat of togetherness can sustain us through challenges. If we believe in one another, if we stand side by side, we can create something worthwhile, a haven of art and creativity. But just as I began to feel the swell of encouragement, the representative from before interjected sharply, "Can you guarantee the success of this cafe? How do we know it won't become another tragic tale we've seen before?" With that, a tidal wave of memories surged through metals of heartbreak, lost dreams, battles fought against the oppressive weight of reality. In that moment, I drew upon the fiery spirits of every person alongside me, those who infuse their journey into our collective mission. "What I can promise," I responded firmly, "is that we will not simply let these dreams float away. We will gather community support. We've already begun gathering signatures, and tonight I stand here not just for myself, but for all those who believe in this vision together." A ripple of murmurs swept through the audience, sethrums of hope mixing with doubt, but I could see some faces tinged with recognition. Determination to uphold our collective dream flickered in those thoughtful eyes. I continued, "People have started communicating with one another. Ideas resonate in our cafe, evoking joy. What we seek is more than financial backing. We seek belief. Together, we will craft a space where every voice can be heard, not just mine." But just as momentum built, a new voice rang out, a man dressed crisply in a suit, his expression calculating. "And what about the financial obligations you need met? Have you considered how much you will need in guaranteed funding? Our reality is not rose-tinted, and this community cannot afford yet another empty promise." The air grew heavier. Doubt stirred in the shadows, and my heart sank momentarily. But then, like a beacon, the young girl stood up from her seat. "Every mural tells a story. We all have a story to tell. If we paint it together, we can show everyone how strong we are. The best walls have cracks that let light in," she declared, her pristine voice resonating like music against the tension that hung palpable in the my breath caught. This wasn't just chancy, it was a luminous moment surging forth from the innocence of belief mingled with urgency, raw and powerful. Suddenly, I was no longer standing alone, encased in uncertainty. I felt unity swell and my back unwavering support branching outward, each thread alive and vibrant. "The challenge we face," I said, feeding off her bravery, "is not just one of finances. It is about community, a chance to build something wholesome and uplifting." The energy shifted again. The council members paused, murmurs of contemplation rippling through them. Days of fears and anxieties collided in that one electrifying moment, hope blossoming from within the depths of my heart. We were fighting for not only our dreams, but for every single soul who had dared to build a nest of hope under the same sun. And then I saw a small flicker, daring to turn into confidence. The representative who had once dismissed us as another passing fancy now held my gaze with a hint of something new. "We have seen far too many dreams crumble," she admitted softly, an unfurling of sincerity breaching her practiced tone. "Still paired with our desire for community growth, perhaps we can consider offering you a chance for a trial." Excitement swelled. It was not a promise nor an assurance, but it was a flicker of opportunity and invitation to build while being held accountable. I could hardly contain my exhilaration. This could be our starting point. As murmurs of agreement rippled through the council room, a chorus of excitement echoed. The community behind me surged forward, filling every ounce of doubt with hope and collective ambition. And then came that moment, the last piece of the puzzle falling wonderfully into place, a decision I had agonized over, yet never mustered up the courage to pursue before. In turn, We want to ask for a platform in which we can present and showcase our progress. I spoke, the culmination of belief twinkling in my eyes, determination solidifying my footsteps. Let us be hands-on in our path of chance to collaborate, not just for this cafe, but for our future. The council members exchanged glances, evidently intrigued by the perspective shift. The room buzzed with curiosity. I knew this was not the end of hesitation, but a bridge towards connecting community with authority. Very well, the leader announced, relenting. You present pragmatism with initiative. We will allow you a trial, so long as it's coupled with progress reports during that period. But just as relief washed over us, the man with the suit spoke again, and you will need to demonstrate you can gather funds quickly. A time frame will be demanded. Surprisingly, I felt no fear, but an unfamiliar thrill instead a challenge had been laid before us. When we left that council meeting, the air felt electric, a thermal breath of relief. I walked out into the open air with my friends, laughter filling the space where fear had once taken root. At that moment, I thought of all the heartfelt conversations, every encouraging smile shared, and the dreams spun together. Days later, the cafe became alive with fervor. Each brushstroke painted on that mural represented our stories, memories flowing into a kaleidoscope of colors and laughter that held every ounce of hope within. What was unfolding felt near miraculous. We're not merely constructing a cafe, but birthing a new sense of belonging, an acceptance of vulnerability, and a promise to stand united. And then there was the twist. I never anticipated a notification from the venture capital firm reached my inbox one evening. My heart raced as I opened it. It seemed they had caught wind of our community initiative and were now interested in supporting us. We aim to invest in projects that focus on community enrichment. My hands trembled as I scrolled down, feelings of disbelief eventually giving way to overwhelming gratitude washing over me in waves. The news spread like wildfire, belief beaming brightly on everyone's faces as the cafe transformed into something extraordinary. The old man who once doubted offered to be a patron. The little girl's mural showcased next to professional art, all woven into the fabric of our dreams. Every participant piecing a beautiful narrative together. As the grand opening approached, everyone came together, laying everything aside for one beautiful moment. The ingenious misfits, the dreamers, the steadfast believers. In a flurry of excitement, I stood on that day, cloaked in joy, glancing around. There, in the fabric of each moment, I realized something unforgivable. There was no single victor. This was the reality of our shared perseverance, painted onto those once empty walls. The day commenced with laughter as warmth spiraled around us. I closed my eyes for a moment, surrounded by familiar and new faces, a quiet synergy filling every unsteady breath. The cafe felt more than just a physical space. It stood testament to what it meant to have hope, struggles, lessons learned, and above all, the unwavering bonds we had formed as one. To somewhere amidst the boisterous laughter, I finally let my guard down, realizing, against all odds, that the journey was never solely about the dream itself, but the people who dared to stand with us. As I took a deep breath, relishing every heart, every story as vibrant with meaning and purpose, I knew the cafe was alive and what made it whole. And standing watch over us all could only be the spirit of kindness. As we lifted our cups in celebration together, I felt at peace, knowing all the threads of our stories had intertwined into a beautifully intricate tapestry. Hey, race to our dreams and our spirit. I cried, and the hearts around me echoed an agreement, each note resonating truth. And in that moment, I realized it was never just about one vision. It was the birth of a community, a celebration of dreams, stitched together with resilience and heart emotion that felt as alive as the sun that illuminated us every day. This was my world, my life, and through every trial I faced, I had discovered that the strongest foundations are built not just with dreams, but with love, laughter, and unwavering belief in tomorrow.